Hello and welcome to History Amnesia. We are so glad you are here. Our journey begins today with a simple question. It is a question that cuts to the very heart of American history. When we look at a map of the United States, we see states with familiar names. Missouri is one of them. But who lived on that land before it was called Missouri? Who were the original peoples of this place? Today we will explore this question together. We will look back in time. We will try to understand the rich and complicated stories of the tribes who called this land home. It is a story of resilience, of culture, and of profound change that shaped the nation we know. The land we now call Missouri was never an empty space. It was a bustling crossroads of nations, a vibrant landscape filled with diverse peoples. For centuries, it was home to powerful tribes like the Osage and the Missouria. The Missouria tribe, in fact, gave the state its name. It means people of the big canoes. They were not alone. Other tribes, such as the Ioway and the Otoe, also lived and hunted in these rolling hills and along these powerful rivers. Their lives were deeply connected to the rhythm of the seasons. They understood the land in ways we can only begin to imagine. Their stories are written on the landscape itself, in the names of rivers and towns, waiting to be rediscovered. Later, other tribes arrived, pushed from their ancestral lands in the east. The relentless expansion of European settlements created a wave of migration. Peoples like the Delaware, the Shawnee, and the Kickapoo were forced westward. They traveled from the Great Lakes region and the Ohio Valley, seeking new homes and a place to continue their way of life. They brought with them their own unique traditions, their own languages, and their own histories of survival. Missouri became a temporary sanctuary for some, but it was also a place of great tension. The arrival of new groups created a complex and ever-shifting human landscape, forever altering the destiny of the region. This history is often forgotten. It is a part of our collective amnesia. We tend to think of history in simple terms, but the reality is far more intricate. The story of Missouri's tribes is not one single story. It is a collection of many stories, each with its own heroes, its own struggles, and its own enduring legacy. By asking who were the tribes of Missouri, we open a door to a deeper understanding of our shared past. We begin to see the people behind the names. We start to piece together a more complete picture of America itself. Join us as we step through that door and begin this important exploration. Language is the lifeblood of a culture. It carries stories, traditions, and a unique way of seeing the world. In the lands of Missouri, the air was once filled with the sounds of many different tongues. Two major language families, both part of the larger Siouan group, were especially prominent. The Missouria, the Ioway, and the Otoe all spoke dialects of a language known as Chiwere. Their speech was closely related. Think of it like the relationship between Spanish and Portuguese. They were different, but a speaker of one dialect could often understand a great deal of another. This shared language created a bond between these tribes, a sense of kinship that connected them across the plains. The mighty Osage nation spoke a different, though related, Siouan language called Degiha. This language family also included the speech of the Quapaw, Omaha, Ponca, and Kanza peoples. While Chiwere and Degiha both came from the same Siouan root, they had diverged over centuries. They were not mutually intelligible. An Osage warrior and a Missouria hunter would have needed a translator to hold a detailed conversation. It would be like an English speaker trying to understand German. They might recognize a few similar words, but the underlying structure and vocabulary were too different for easy communication. This linguistic divide was a significant factor in shaping tribal identities and relationships. The other tribes who came to Missouri brought their own distinct languages with them. The Delaware spoke Lenape, an Algonquian language from the eastern woodlands. The Shawnee and the Kickapoo also spoke languages from this same Algonquian family. These languages were completely unrelated to the Siouan tongues of the Osage or Missouria. The arrival of these groups turned Missouri into a multilingual society. Imagine a gathering place where people spoke languages as different as English, Chinese, and Arabic. Communication would have been a challenge, requiring skilled interpreters, sign language, and a great deal of patience. This linguistic diversity highlights the incredible cultural richness of the region during this era. This mosaic of languages tells a powerful story of migration and displacement. The presence of Algonquian speakers from the Great Lakes region alongside Siouan speakers from the plains is a direct result of historical pressures. European settlement in the east acted like a great force, pushing nations westward into the territories of others. This forced migration created a new social dynamic in Missouri. It was a place of encounter where different worlds collided. The question of whether these tribes could understand one another was not just about language. It was about navigating a new and often precarious existence side by side with strangers. Each tribe that called Missouri home had a unique social and cultural structure, a distinct way of organizing their world. The Osage, for example, were known for their highly sophisticated and ceremonial society. They were divided into two great divisions, or moieties, the Zi-Sho, or Sky People, and the Hanga, or Earth People. This dual structure governed everything from their village layout to their religious rituals and political leadership. Every Osage individual had a specific place within this cosmic order. Their society was deeply hierarchical and spiritual, with complex ceremonies that celebrated the balance between the heavens and the earth. Their worldview was one of grand, cosmic symmetry. The Missouria, Ioway, and Otoe peoples, bound by their shared Chiwere language, had social structures that were similar to one another but different from the Osage. They were generally organized into clans, with membership often passed down through the father's line. These clans, named after animals like the bear, buffalo, or eagle, were the fundamental building blocks of their society. The clan system determined who you could marry, what your social responsibilities were, and how you related to others in the tribe. While they also had deep spiritual beliefs, their social organization was perhaps less rigidly ceremonial than that of their Osage neighbors, focusing more on kinship and extended family networks. The tribes that arrived later, such as the Delaware and the Shawnee, brought their own long-established traditions from the eastern woodlands. The Delaware, or Lenape, had a matrilineal society, meaning that clan identity and inheritance were passed down through the mother's line. Their society was organized around three major clans: the turtle, the turkey, and the wolf. This structure was fundamentally different from the patrilineal systems of the Chiwere-speaking tribes. The Shawnee also had a distinct social organization, with a strong emphasis on their 5 traditional divisions, each with its own unique role in the tribe's political and ceremonial life. These differences in social structure were not trivial. They shaped every aspect of daily existence, from who held power to how children were raised and how property was owned. The Osage worldview, with its emphasis on cosmic balance, led to a different style of leadership and community life than the clan-based systems of the Missouria or the matrilineal society of the Delaware. Understanding these differences is crucial. It reminds us that there was no single Native American way of life. The peoples of Missouri were as diverse as any group of nations, each weaving a unique and beautiful cultural fabric from the threads of their own history and beliefs. The relationships between the tribes of Missouri were as complex and varied as the people themselves. It is a mistake to imagine a history of constant warfare or one of uninterrupted peace. The reality was a dynamic mixture of both. Alliances were formed for mutual defense, for trade, and through intermarriage. The shared language and cultural ties among the Missouria, Ioway, and Otoe often led to cooperation. They traded goods, shared hunting grounds, and sometimes banded together against common enemies. These alliances were practical and necessary for survival in a world that was constantly changing. Peaceful coexistence and diplomacy were essential tools for navigating their shared landscape. However, conflict was also a part of life. Competition for resources, especially for access to the best hunting grounds and the increasingly important trade with Europeans, could lead to friction. The Osage, a powerful and numerous people, often found themselves in conflict with other tribes over territory. Their strength allowed them to control a vast domain, and they defended it fiercely. The arrival of eastern tribes like the Shawnee and Delaware further complicated the situation, as these newcomers also needed land and resources to survive. These tensions sometimes erupted into raids and battles, creating a landscape of shifting rivalries alongside the enduring alliances. The arrival of European and American settlers added an entirely new and destabilizing element to this intricate network of relationships. The tribes were forced to navigate treaties, trade deals, and the relentless pressure of westward expansion. Some tribes tried to form alliances with the newcomers, hoping to gain an advantage over old rivals or to secure their own survival. Others resisted, fighting to protect their lands and their way of life. This period was one of profound upheaval, as tribes were played against one another and ultimately displaced from the lands that had sustained them for generations. The story of their interactions is one of diplomacy, betrayal, resistance, and heartbreaking loss. Today, the legacy of these tribes endures. Though they were forcibly removed from Missouri in the 19th century, their descendants carry on their traditions, languages and cultures in Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska and beyond. The names Osage, Missouria and Shawnee are not just echoes from the past, they are living nations with vibrant communities. By remembering their stories, we honor their resilience and their profound connection to the land. We challenge the amnesia that has so often obscured this vital chapter of American history. Their diversity, their complexity, and their spirit are a fundamental part of the story of Missouri and of our nation. Thank you for joining us on History Amnesia. If you found this journey meaningful, please like and subscribe for more stories from our shared past.